As a new or returning player, the sheer number of weapon damage talents in the Division 2 can be quite overwhelming. So in this video I'm going to tell you what I think is the best backpack talent for weapon damage. Did you know that the wording of the talents is incredibly important when deciding which to use? If you look at the backpack talents closely, you will notice that two different types of wording are used. Firstly, there are those that increase total weapon damage, and then there are those that amplify damage. So why is that important? Well, the descriptions tell you how the talent fits into the weapon damage calculation. Now, I covered how damage works in this video here, which I will link in the description and at the end. The key thing we need to know is which of the following damage modifier buckets the talent falls into. The backpack talents is pretty simple. There are just two backpack talents that amplify damage: versatile and opportunistic, while everything else being total weapon damage. Keeping it very simple, both of these are good because they are multiplicative. Do check out that video on how damage works if you want to know why. One thing though, total weapon damage talents are additive within the total weapon damage bucket, while each source of amplified damage has its own bucket, making them slightly stronger. For all of the backpack talents though, the key thing to note is how they are triggered, as it is this more than anything that makes them good or not, rather than the actual percentage buff. Versatile, for example, on paper has the potential to be incredibly strong, delivering up to 35% amplified damage, but the reality is that the whole weapon swapping mechanic is just clunky, and for new players I can't recommend it. My ranking for new players from worst to best of the backpack talents is as follows. When coupled with the determined weapon talent, concussion has the potential to deliver a 25% weapon damage buff, which sounds good. But the reality is that if you're going to run a sniper build, then the only build you want to use is a one-shot sniper build, like this one here. I will leave a link in the description below to this video. Versatile comes in 7th for me due to the aforementioned clunky weapon swapping mechanic, despite its impressive 35% amplified damage. Next up is Wicked. The issue for me with this talent is again the trigger point. You need a way to apply a stasis effect consistently without disrupting your weapon damage dealing. So while you could run a Jammer Pulse or Stinger Hive, you have to stop firing in order to use those skills, and you need a short enough skill cooldown to reapply every 20 seconds. Now you could run Ridgeway's Pride, ongoing directive gear set, or a weapon like Iron Lung, but in the end I think that there are just better options. For me, Composure makes it into 5th place. For new players in particular, you're going to be using cover in most PvE fights, and so this is a relatively easy talent to trigger that you get good utilization out of initially. Personally though, I now find that I spend more time out of cover than in, often using corners rather than entering cover itself, and so this talent does become less and less worthwhile. Unstoppable Force delivers a strong 25% total weapon damage buff, but it needs 5 kills to get to this, and it only lasts 15 seconds between kills. For the right run and gun build, this talent can be a real juggernaut, but the time it takes to build up and the gaps between fighting and a lot of the content means that you're going to be spending more time building up stacks than you are enjoying the full buff. So, my top 3 weapon damage buffs. For me, it is very close between these, but for very different reasons. Opportunistic is a great talent, particularly when playing in a team. I wouldn't use it with a marksman rifle, as a one-shot sniper build is the way to go if you want to snipe, but match this talent with a good shotgun, particularly the exotic shotgun Scorpio, with its 20% amplified damage buff, and your whole team will thank you for the damage buff you provide. Companion is easily triggered with a Seeker Mine that has a long duration and follows you around like man's best friend. This makes it easy to get the buff up no matter your playstyle. The damage buff is solid at 15%, and this is a great weapon damage talent for new players. But for me, the best weapon damage talent is still the all-time classic, Vigilance. It delivers a great 25% damage buff from the first shot, and if you're using cover or a shield, you'll find that keeping it up is easier than a young man playing the first Descendant, despite the trigger off mechanic it has. So that is my tier list of weapon damage backpack talents for new players. Just as important as these are the chest talents though. So check out what I think is the best chest talent in this video here.